Hello friend, so glad you're here tonight. Get comfortable, pull the covers up, and let the day loosen its grip. There's nowhere else you need to be. Before we begin, a small request. Most of the people listening tonight aren't subscribed. If this channel has ever helped you drift off, take a moment to subscribe and tap the like button on tonight's video. Both are free, they take 2 seconds, and they help this channel more than you think. And you can always change your mind later. And if you feel like it, leave a comment telling me where in the world you're listening from and what time it is where you are. I love reading them. Tonight is a slow drift through the real story of knights, one true thing at a time. There is nothing to do here and nothing to remember. Each one will pass like a slow cloud, some familiar, some quietly surprising, all of them real. If you fall asleep somewhere in the middle, that is exactly how this is meant to work. Settle in, let your breathing slow down, and we will begin. One more thing before we begin. I'm also a co-founder of a sleep app, built to be the most affordable one out there. No ads, ever. Just sounds and stories made to help you sleep. It may not be released yet as this video goes up, but if you're watching a little later, it might be out by now. Just search for it, it should be easy to find. It works on iPhone, Android, and everything in between. Downloading it is the best way to support this channel. Knights played a significant role in the Crusades, beginning in the late 11th century, which were military expeditions organized by Western European Christians to recapture holy places from Muslim control. These campaigns spanned over 2 centuries, from 1090X to 1291, and involved numerous military conflicts where knights were crucial participants. The goal of these crusades was to reclaim the Holy Land, considered a sacred site by many Christians at the time. Knights, with their specialized training and equipment, were essential in these military endeavors. Their involvement was documented through various historical accounts and artifacts that have survived from this era. The Crusades, particularly those between 1096 and 1070, saw knights playing a pivotal role in attempting to recapture these holy sites from Muslim control. These expeditions shaped medieval European culture and society, instilling a sense of religious fervor and martial prowess. The knights' combat skills were refined through intense training and actual battlefield experience. Chroniclers and historians of the time chronicled their deeds in detailed manuscripts and illuminations. These records provide valuable insights into the strategies, equipment, and mindset of these medieval warriors. These records also highlight the personal sacrifices and hardships endured by knights during these long campaigns. They offer a glimpse into the political and religious motivations driving their actions, as well as the complex relationships between different Christian factions. The narratives often emphasize the strategic importance of controlling key cities and fortresses in the Holy Land. This knowledge has been gleaned from meticulous study of historical texts, artifacts, and archaeological sites. In the year 1066, at a battle called Hastings, Norman knights were pivotal in the victory of William the Conqueror over the English. This battlefield, now quiet and grassy, once echoed with the clash of steel as these heavily armoured warriors fought. The Normans' advantage lay not only in their armour, but also in their tactical use of horses, allowing them to charge quickly across the landscape. Records of this event have been preserved over centuries, detailing the Norman knights' crucial role in changing the course of English history. Their cavalry charges, swift and coordinated, broke English lines that were tightly packed on foot. The Norman knights' ability to maneuver quickly across uneven terrain proved decisive in turning the tide of battle. Chroniclers from both sides later documented this strategic advantage, shedding light on how it shaped the outcome. Over time, these accounts have been studied by historians seeking to understand the impact of military tactics on historical events. The Norman knights' mobility on horseback allowed them to control the battlefield, choosing when and where to engage. Their horses provided speed and flexibility, enabling rapid redeployment and surprise attacks. This advantage was not immediately apparent. It took careful study of the terrain and tactics used to fully appreciate its significance. The enduring power of this strategy can be seen in subsequent military campaigns, where horseback mobility remained a key factor. The Norman knights' skill in horsemanship, honed through years of practice, allowed them to navigate challenging terrain with precision. Their understanding of equine anatomy and behavior enabled them to push their mounts to peak performance without causing harm. This intimate knowledge was passed down through generations, ensuring the continued effectiveness of cavalry charges. The study of these tactics involves analysing contemporary battlefield layouts and comparing them to historical accounts. By the 14th century, the role of knights began to decline. This was due to changes in warfare tactics. Heavy armour and horseback charging were no longer as effective. Longbowmen, firing arrows from a distance, became more prominent on battlefields. Infantry units, equipped with shields and pikes, also gained importance. The longbow's range and the infantry's formation strength made knights less dominant. Historical records and artifacts, such as paintings and manuscripts, show this shift in warfare tactics. Knights, once revered for their mounted prowess, found themselves outmatched by archers and foot soldiers. The longbow's accuracy from afar rendered a knight's charge less decisive. Infantry formations, tight and disciplined, could withstand cavalry assaults. Over time, it became clear that the battlefield was evolving, leaving heavy armour and mounted charges as relics of a bygone era. Knights, with their heavy armour and horseback charging, struggled against the precision and distance of longbowmen. Infantry units, with their shields and pikes, formed a strong barrier that was difficult for knights to breach. The shift in tactics was evident as more archers and foot soldiers appeared on battlefields. Over time, this change became apparent in the way battles were fought and won. The effectiveness of knights in combat waned as their methods no longer suited the changing nature of warfare. The longbow's distance and infantry's formations offered significant defensive advantages against heavy cavalry charges. The adaptation to these new strategies was gradual but evident through shifts in military training and equipment. Historical accounts documented the decline of knights' prominence on battlefields over time. The 100 Years' War, spanning from 1337 to 1453, saw the decline of mounted cavalry charges led by knights. Over time, new strategies emerged on battlefields, altering the landscape of warfare. The thundering hooves that once signalled a charge grew quieter as foot soldiers gained prominence. Armour, once heavy and protective, became less effective against evolving tactics. Historical accounts, penned by chroniclers who witnessed these changes, revealed this shift in military power. The once dominant knights found themselves adapting to a new reality on the battlefield, one where their charge was no longer the decisive factor it once was. Instead of charging, knights started dismounting before battle, joining foot soldiers in close combat. This change was due to the advancements in weapons that made it easier for foot soldiers to take down mounted opponents. Observations from battlefields showed that the grounded knights had a better chance at survival and success compared to those who charged on horseback. The shift from cavalry to infantry was gradual, each battle chipping away at the knight's dominance. Weapons like the longbow and pike proved crucial in this transition, as they could be wielded effectively by foot soldiers against mounted foes. Chronicles of battles showed that knights who dismounted were less vulnerable to these new weapons. Over time, the once feared cavalry charge became a rarity on the battlefield. The once proud knightly charge was slowly replaced by a more tactical approach, where mounted troops dismounted and fought on foot. This adaptation stemmed from the realization that cavalry were no longer the unstoppable force they once were, as infantry weapons could now pierce heavy armor with ease. Historians noted this change in tactics through detailed accounts of battles, observing how knights who dismounted early fared better against the evolving threats posed by foot soldiers. One of the most famous knights in history is King Arthur, who, according to legend, ruled over Camelot and was assisted by his Knights of the Round Table. This story comes from medieval texts that describe a king and his companions seated equally around a round table. The tales were often told by bards in large halls, with the echoes of their voices bouncing off the stone walls. Each knight at the table was said to be equal, symbolized by the lack of a head of the table. This concept was unusual for its time, where hierarchy was typically clear and strict. The stories were spread through generations, passed down orally until they were written down in manuscripts. These manuscripts, with their yellowed parchment and faded ink, can still be found in museums today. The tales, though fictional, offer insight into the values and ideals of medieval society. They were preserved not only by storytellers, but also through the laborious process of hand-copying manuscripts. The absence of a head at the table signifies a shift in power dynamics, suggesting that each knight held equal responsibility and respect within the group. This equality among knights is a stark contrast to the feudal societies of the time, where power was concentrated in the hands of a few. The Round Table's design reflects this egalitarian ideal, with no one position elevated above others. This message of unity and shared responsibility resonates deeply within the stories, shaping the way people viewed leadership and community. The absence of a head at the table is a powerful visual metaphor, emphasizing that true strength lies in collective effort rather than individual authority. The Order of the Knights Templar was indeed established around the year 1119, their primary mission being the safeguarding of pilgrims journeying to Jerusalem. These pilgrims would often venture through treacherous terrain, and the knights' sworn duty ensured that they could undertake this sacred passage with a measure of security. The Knights Templar were not alone in this endeavour. Contemporaries such as the Deutsche Orden also took up arms to protect travellers to the Holy Land. Such orders played a crucial role in the medieval world, their presence a reassuring sight amidst the vast and often unpredictable landscape of the pilgrimage routes. The Knights Templars' commitment to protecting pilgrims created a sense of tranquility amidst uncertainty, as travellers knew they had defenders in an otherwise harsh and unpredictable world. Their presence along the routes was a beacon of hope for those embarking on spiritual journeys, offering both physical protection and emotional reassurance. Through their actions, these knights demonstrated the importance of safety and support during religious pilgrimages, establishing a precedent that would be followed by future protectors. The historical records detailing their efforts highlight the significance of these orders in shaping the medieval landscape of devotion and security. The Knights Templars' vigilant presence along pilgrimage routes served as a tangible reminder of safety. Their fortified outposts and visible patrols instilled a sense of security among travellers. The shared knowledge of their dedication spread through word of mouth, further solidifying the knight's reputation. The mere sight of a Templar knight, clad in his distinctive white mantle with a red cross, was enough to calm anxious pilgrims. Their steadfast vigil along the routes signaled that danger was not inevitable. Through their ceaseless watch, stories of safety spread like wildfire among travellers, becoming an unspoken code of trust. The tangible evidence of their protection, such as the remnants of their strongholds, still stands today as a reminder of their historic role. The Hospitallers, also known as the Knights of St. John, were another important military order established during the Crusades. This group played a significant role in the religious and political landscape of medieval Europe. Starting in 1096, the Crusades drew European knights to the Middle East, where they participated in complex military campaigns. The Hospitallers stood out among these knights due to their specific mission and structure as a military order. Their establishment reflects the period's religious fervour and the desire for organised military responses to threats. Over time, their contributions were documented through historical records and accounts from chroniclers of the Crusades. The Hospitallers' unique identity was shaped by their commitment to both religious and military duties, setting them apart from other knightly orders. Their dual focus on providing care for the sick and defending Christian territories highlighted their adaptability in a turbulent period. Historical chroniclers often emphasized their role in maintaining hospitals along pilgrimage routes, illustrating their lasting impact beyond the battlefield. This dual nature was well documented through various texts and artifacts that survive to this day. The Hospitallers' blend of care and combat was a practical response to the realities of medieval travel. This combination offered pilgrims not only protection, but also relief from illness, demonstrating the group's multifaceted approach. The Hospitallers' actions were recorded by contemporary observers who recognized the value of their work. These accounts serve as invaluable insights into the daily lives of medieval people, providing a human perspective on grand historical events. The Hospitallers' dedication to both healing and fighting is evident in their architecture, with many of their structures housing hospitals alongside fortifications. This dual purpose served a practical need for travellers who faced hazards on the road. The chronicler's descriptions often mention the contrast between the serene hospital wards and the bustling armories within the same complex, offering a glimpse into the Hospitallers' daily activities. In the year 190, the Teutonic Knights were established to safeguard German pilgrims and crusaders. This order, initially known as the Order of the Teutonic Knights of St. Mary's Hospital in Jerusalem, emerged later in the same century. Their primary goal was to offer aid and protection to those journeying through potentially dangerous territories. The Knights were particularly concerned with the safety of German travellers, ensuring that they could make their pilgrimages without fear. The Teutonic Knights initially focused their efforts on protecting Germans from the Prussians. Over time, their role evolved into a significant part of medieval history, providing valuable insights into the dynamics of protection and assistance during this era. The Knights provided sanctuary and care for the injured, establishing hospitals and safe houses along pilgrimage routes. Their skills in combat were crucial for repelling threats and maintaining peace. This mission was documented through contemporary accounts and historical records, offering a clear understanding of their purpose. The Knights' impact extended beyond physical protection, fostering a sense of community among German travellers. The Teutonic Knights were trained in medical care, treating both physical wounds and spiritual ailments. This comprehensive support ensured that pilgrims could continue their journeys with renewed vigour. Through their charitable work, the Knights garnered respect from local populations, enhancing their ability to navigate different lands safely. The Order's diligent record-keeping provided future generations with detailed accounts of their activities and the challenges they faced. Their commitment to both physical and spiritual well-being reflected their deep understanding of human needs. The establishment of hospitals and safe houses along key routes provided practical solutions for pilgrims facing hardships. Detailed accounts from contemporary chroniclers shed light on the daily lives and struggles of the Knights, painting a vivid picture of medieval travel. The Teutonic Knights' meticulous care in documenting their activities ensured that future generations could learn from and be inspired by their work. Knights were integral to the military organisation of the Crusades, providing both leadership and combat prowess. They often fought on horseback, their lances held steady in their hands, the metal reflecting what little light there was in the vast night skies they rode under. Their swords hung at their sides, a constant reminder of their skill and readiness. The way they moved, both on and off their horses, exuded a confidence that inspired those around them to follow suit. This prowess did not go unnoticed. Historians have recorded their importance in battle, noting how crucial the Knights' leadership was in turning the tide of many a conflict. Their presence on the battlefield commanded attention, their actions often determining the outcome of skirmishes. The Crusades would have been a very different experience without the strategic guidance and valiant efforts of these mounted warriors. Their armour, a blend of practicality and symbolism, was meticulously crafted to protect without hindering movement. The Knights' horses were also trained for battle, their bond with the riders essential for swift manoeuvres. This union of man and beast further amplified their military might. Through detailed chronicles and preserved artifacts, scholars have traced these practices back to the earliest Crusades. The Knights' ability to control their horses mid-battle, even amidst chaos, demonstrated a level of mastery honed through rigorous training. Their understanding of equine behaviour allowed them to anticipate and respond to the horse's movements, ensuring seamless coordination during combat. This intricate bond between rider and mount was often taught by experienced knights who passed down their knowledge through generations. The techniques employed were a result of careful observation and adaptation to various battlefield conditions. The Battle of Agincourt in 1415 is famous for the use of English longbowmen against French knights. In that cold autumn morning, the English archers let loose a barrage of arrows from their longbows. The arrows flew high and far, descending upon the heavily armoured French knights. The French knights, with their metal armour gleaming in the sunlight, were not accustomed to this type of warfare. Historians have noted that the use of the English longbow was a turning point in medieval combat tactics. The pronunciation of knights in both UK and US English is knit, reflecting the common heritage of these languages. Over time, it became evident that the mobility and accuracy of the archers were significant advantages on the battlefield. The longbow's range and penetrative power were crucial in overcoming the French knights' defensive tactics. The English archers, trained from youth, could loose arrows with remarkable precision and speed. This shift in strategy underscored the growing importance of ranged weapons in medieval warfare. Archival records and surviving artifacts provide insights into the design and use of these early firearms. The longbow's ability to pierce armor from a distance challenged traditional close-quarters combat. This change in tactics was observed and documented by chroniclers who witnessed the battle's aftermath. The effectiveness of the English archers demonstrated that adaptability on the battlefield could alter the course of history. Through detailed accounts, it became clear that the longbow's role was pivotal in shaping future military strategies. The success of the English longbowmen highlighted the vulnerability of heavily armoured cavalry in open fields. The archers' training and skill allowed them to maintain a consistent rate of fire, overwhelming their opponents. This realization led to further development and refinement of ranged weaponry across Europe. Surviving manuscripts from the period offer illustrations of battle formations that incorporate archers into tactical plans. In the 12th century, a significant order known as the Knights Hospitaller was established in Jerusalem to provide care for sick pilgrims. This group of knights would have travelled through the dusty streets of the ancient city, their armour clanking softly under the weight of their duty. The hospitals they founded offered respite from the harsh journey, with cool stone walls and simple beds where weary travellers could rest. These structures were often humble but well tended, places of quiet reflection amidst the bustling marketplaces. Over time, the order grew in both influence and size, becoming a beacon of hope for those seeking solace in a foreign land. Their work was documented in careful ledgers and letters, preserved for centuries to come, offering a glimpse into the daily lives of these dedicated caregivers. Their careful attention to detail ensured that each traveller was treated with dignity and respect, their ailments tended with skilled hands. Inscriptions on the hospital walls served as reminders of their mission, etched in stone for all to see. The Knights Hospitallers' dedication was such that they often put themselves at risk, venturing into areas plagued by disease and hardship. Their meticulous records allowed future generations to learn from their experiences, carrying on the legacy of compassionate care. Their journals, now yellowed and brittle with age, reveal a deep understanding of illness and remedy. The careful tending of gardens within the hospital courtyards provided both sustenance and healing for the mind. Simple rituals like the daily washing of hands were adopted as crucial practices in maintaining hygiene. These ancient texts continue to guide modern medical practices, demonstrating the enduring value of their meticulous record-keeping. In the late 15th century, the invention of gunpowder and firearms led to a decline in the importance of heavy cavalry, including knights. This change came about because these new weapons could be used from a distance, making the close combat tactics of knights less effective. The clanking of armour and the thunderous charge of horses no longer held the same power on the battlefield. Over time, it became clear that the heavy cavalry's traditional role was diminishing as gunpowder weapons became more prevalent and deadly. This shift was observed across various battles and skirmishes, where the once formidable knights found their influence waning. The changing landscape of warfare necessitated a rethinking of military strategy, leading to a gradual decline in the prominence of heavy cavalry. Knights' armour, once a symbol of power, became less useful against projectiles that could pierce metal from afar. Their horses, trained for charge and impact, were now vulnerable targets in open fields. The heavy weight of their equipment, designed for close combat, slowed them down and made manoeuvring difficult. Training programs gradually shifted focus away from the traditional skills of knighthood, favouring new tactics and weapons that could counter the threat posed by gunpowder. The once revered image of a knight astride his steed was now replaced by the silent, distant figure of an archer or musketeer. Former battle strategies were no longer relevant as commanders adapted to this new reality. Artifacts and training methods that had been passed down through generations began to change, reflecting the evolving needs of warfare. The Battle of Hattin, fought in 1187, was a pivotal moment for the Knights Templar and the Crusaders. This battle marked a turning point, shifting the balance of power in the Holy Land. The outcome left the Knights Templar severely weakened, their strength diminished on the battlefield. Historians often cite this defeat as a catalyst for the loss of Jerusalem, a city once seen as a symbol of Crusader might. The arid landscape of Hattin, under the scorching summer sun, bore witness to this historic clash. Soldiers, dehydrated and exhausted, struggled through the hot, dusty terrain. The defeat at Hattin echoed through history, leaving an indelible mark on the annals of the Crusades. The defeat highlighted the strategic missteps of the Crusaders. It underscored their underestimation of Saladin's forces, leading to a disastrous outcome. The aftermath revealed the vulnerabilities in the Crusaders' lines of communication and supply chains. Through detailed accounts from surviving soldiers, the causes and consequences of the battle were meticulously documented. The battle revealed flaws in the Crusaders' strategy, exposing their overconfidence and lack of preparation for desert warfare. Accounts from defeated soldiers described the chaos on the battlefield, with units struggling to maintain cohesion amidst the heat and dust. The loss at Hattin forced a re-evaluation of military tactics, emphasizing the importance of terrain awareness and water management in future campaigns. Detailed analyses of Saladin's maneuvers highlighted the effectiveness of his guerrilla tactics, influencing subsequent military training for Crusader forces. The desert heat and lack of water proved to be decisive factors, significantly impairing the Crusaders' ability to fight effectively. The absence of a clear strategy to counter Saladin's tactics left the Crusader army disorganized and vulnerable. Detailed studies of the battle terrain revealed that the Crusaders failed to anticipate the harsh desert conditions, further exacerbating their disadvantage. The Code of Chivalry, developed in the 12th century, was a set of rules that guided the behavior of knights. In this time, knights were expected to uphold certain moral standards and behaviors. The code outlined these guidelines, providing a framework for their actions. It served as a compass for knighthood, helping them navigate the complexities of medieval life. These rules covered various aspects of their lives, from their conduct in battle to their interactions with others. The code was not merely a suggestion, but a binding set of principles that knights were expected to follow. Over time, these guidelines became deeply ingrained in the culture of chivalry, shaping the behavior and expectations of knights for generations. The Code of Chivalry was a written document, passed down from knight to squire, ensuring its continuity. It emphasized virtues such as loyalty and honor, essential for maintaining trust among peers. Knights learned these tenets through rigorous training, both in combat and in courtly etiquette. The code's influence stretched beyond the battlefield, affecting daily life and interactions with commoners. Knights were taught these rules from a young age, often by experienced knights who had followed them for years. They were expected to live by these principles in all situations, not just during battles or tournaments. The code provided a clear path for their behavior, making it easier for them to make decisions that aligned with its teachings. It created a sense of unity among knights, as they all adhered to the same guidelines. The development of knights unfolded over centuries, from the 10th to the 15th. This era witnessed slow changes in armor and weaponry, adapting to evolving battle tactics. Castles and villages saw these warriors train in courtyards, honing skills for tournaments and war. Chronicles and manuscripts of the time preserved accounts of their evolution, detailing shifts in equipment and strategy. Artifacts like swords and shields, found in museums today, offer tangible evidence of this progression. Each century brought subtle refinements, reflecting advancements in technology and understanding of combat. The transformation was gradual, spanning generations who lived and fought within these centuries. Every generation passed on wisdom, teaching the next about the intricacies of combat and the value of each refinement. The changes were often subtle, sometimes imperceptible to those living through them, but cumulatively transformed a knight's role and effectiveness. Mentors instilled these lessons in training grounds, ensuring that each new knight carried forward the accumulated knowledge of centuries. Artisans and blacksmiths contributed to this evolution, crafting tools that better withstood the rigors of warfare and tournaments. Metalworkers experimented with alloys, creating stronger materials for armor. Craftsmen adapted designs to provide better mobility and protection. Warriors studied techniques from other lands, incorporating them into their own training. Mentors emphasized practical experience over theoretical knowledge in combat instruction. As generations passed, warriors observed what worked best on the battlefield and adapted accordingly. These lessons were often hard-won, learned through trial and error in combat situations. New techniques spread from one region to another as warriors traveled and shared knowledge. Training manuals were consulted, but real-world experience remained the primary teacher. In the late 14th and early 15th centuries, the number of knights decreased due to changes in warfare tactics and the rise of professional armies. The shift from individual combatants to organized units meant that fewer individuals were needed for battlefield success. Castles once filled with noblemen now stood quieter, their stone walls echoing less the clatter of armor. Battles fought on rolling hills became more about strategy than personal valor. Records from the period show a decline in knighthood ceremonies, reflecting this new reality. Over time, the emphasis turned from individual bravery to collective might. The once thriving culture around knights waned, as did their influence on society. The once grand tournaments became infrequent, losing their allure as spectacles. Families that had previously sent sons to be trained in the art of chivalry now redirected resources toward emerging industries and trade. Skills once prized for combat, like horsemanship and archery, were repurposed for new roles such as hunting and law enforcement. Scholars trace this transition through faded manuscripts, documenting a steady drop in knightly orders memberships and influence on governance. The shift in military focus rendered many traditional knightly skills obsolete, leading to a decline in their instruction and practice. The decreased demand for chivalric training resulted in the closure of some academies dedicated to this purpose. This transformation was evident not only in the reduction of knights, but also in the change of societal expectations regarding valor and heroism. Knightly armaments, once prized and meticulously maintained, gathered dust in castle storerooms. Once vibrant training fields fell silent, their trampled grass slowly reclaiming the land. The once celebrated stories of individual knightly feats began to fade from common memory. Scholars noted fewer depictions of knights in artwork, signaling a shift in artistic and societal focus. In the 15th century, knights were regular participants in tournaments, especially during the Festival of St. George. These events were held annually to celebrate the patron saint of England. The festival was a time for knights to showcase their skills and strength. Tournaments often took place in large open fields, where knights on horseback charged towards each other with lances. The clash of metal and the thud of falling riders filled the air. These competitions were not just about brute force, they required precision and agility. Records from the time detail these events, describing the festive atmosphere and the excitement generated by the knights' displays of skill. The festivals attracted large crowds who came to witness the spectacle. The knights wore armor adorned with colors and symbols to represent their families or territories. Each jousting match lasted only a few seconds, but required months of training and preparation. Spectators cheered from the sidelines as they watched the skilled riders in action. The knights practiced tirelessly, honing their abilities on the jousting field. Each lance was carefully chosen for its balance and weight. The armor they wore weighed heavily on their bodies, demanding strength and endurance. The horses, too, were trained meticulously to respond swiftly and precisely. Each knight's helmet featured a unique crest, easily recognizable from afar. The tournaments were as much about displaying wealth and status as they were about skill. Over time, the designs of the armor evolved to offer better protection without sacrificing mobility. The horses often wore protective gear to shield them during these intense contests. In the year 1348, the Black Death brought about a substantial decline in the number of knights across many lands. The plague swept through towns and castles, sparing few from its deadly touch. Villages that once echoed with the clanking of armor now lay silent, their streets emptied by the pestilence. Halls where knights had feasted now stood empty, their tables bare except for the lingering scent of spices. Documents from the era speak of reduced military forces and the struggle to maintain order in the wake of such loss. Graves multiplied swiftly under the weight of the disease, marking the final resting place of many a knight. The once grand tournaments saw fewer participants. Their absence felt keenly by those who remained. And so, the landscape changed, with fewer defenders to protect and serve their lands. The absence of knights left many castles and fortifications unmanned, increasing vulnerability to attacks from rival factions or opportunistic invaders. Villagers adapted to their new reality, learning to fend for themselves without the protection they once relied upon. Letters between surviving nobles often discussed the challenge of finding suitable replacements amidst the dwindling population. Scribes recorded the decline in military prowess, noting the loss of skilled warriors and their strategies. The villages that once hosted festivals in honor of the knights now observed quiet days of mourning. The training grounds for aspiring young warriors grew over with weeds and neglect as fewer instructors remained to teach. The once renowned forges that crafted armor and weapons fell silent, their fires extinguished due to lack of work. The knowledge of ancient tactics and combat strategies began to fade from memory, as those who knew them best were no longer there to pass them on. By the late 15th century, the role of knights had become largely ceremonial and symbolic rather than military. Their once formidable presence on battlefields was replaced by ritualistic appearances in parades and tournaments. The evolution from warrior to ceremonial figure marked a shift in societal needs, where displays of power were more significant than actual combat. Intricate armor, once forged for protection, now served as a symbol of wealth and status. The decline in military necessity allowed knights to focus on upholding codes of chivalry and performing courtly duties. Their training shifted from the rigors of battle to the nuances of etiquette, signifying a new era where might was shown through grace rather than force. Their practice swords, once honed for combat, now gathered dust in ornate display cases. Armor polishing became an art form rather than a necessity for survival. The change in focus was evident in the architecture of castles, which began to include more grand halls and less defensive fortifications. Knights spent their days composing poetry and participating in jousting tournaments, reflecting the new value placed on elegance over brute strength. The once mighty warriors now graced elegant ballrooms, their movements governed by rhythm and harmony rather than battle strategy. The echoes of steel clashing against steel were replaced by the soft rustle of silk capes. The art of warfare gave way to the mastery of dance steps. Courtly manners became the new arena for demonstrating strength. The clatter of metal practice swords grew less frequent, echoing now only in quiet training sessions rather than noisy battle preparations. Courtly manners replaced martial prowess as the measure of a knight's worth. Intricate hand gestures and polite bows became more important than swordplay techniques. Evenings were filled with musical recitals instead of war council meetings. During the 12th and 13th centuries, England was home to approximately 40,000 knights. This number was not arbitrary. It represented the peak of a carefully cultivated military class. Each knight underwent rigorous training, their hands calloused from years of swordplay, their muscles taut from endless hours on horseback. They were scattered across the countryside, their gleaming armor visible from miles away as they rode through lush valleys and dense forests. Their numbers were recorded meticulously by scribes in dimly lit monasteries, quill pens scratching across parchment under flickering candlelight. Their presence was a symbol of the monarchy's power, with each knight sworn to protect and expand its influence. These warriors were not mere soldiers, but skilled strategists, their minds honed as much as their bodies. Their stories were passed down through generations, from campfire tales to grand halls, ensuring their legacy lived on. Their swords bore witness to countless battles, each nick and scratch a silent chronicle of their adventures. The weight of their shields was matched only by their resolve, unyielding against the forces of chaos. Their helms cast shadows that echoed their prowess on the field, while their spurs marked the ground with signs of their swift advancements. These knights were often housed in grand castles, their presence a constant reminder of the monarchy's reach. Their training began at a young age, with squires learning to care for horses and tend to weapons. Every knight had a personal crest, a symbol of his lineage and honor. The knowledge of swordsmanship was passed down through generations, each master teaching their apprentice the art of combat. The Teutonic Knight was a member of the Catholic military Deutscher Orden, or Teutonic Order, officially founded in March 1198 CE. This organization was formally established by the Holy Roman Emperor Frederick I Barbarossa on a cold day in February, precisely on the 19th of that month over 800 years ago. The founding event took place under the dim light of a flickering candle in a quiet room filled with the scent of parchment and ink. Documents from this period, carefully preserved in archives, detail the official decree issued by Emperor Barbarossa, sealing the existence of the Teutonic Order in historical records. The order's creation was marked by the signing of charters on worn wooden tables, surrounded by robed figures. These early documents, written in Latin, have been meticulously studied by historians over centuries, providing insight into the birth of this significant medieval organization. The Teutonic Order's origin was documented through meticulous record-keeping, ensuring its story endured over time. The founding charters were written with quills dipped in black ink, their careful strokes preserving the order's inauguration for posterity. Historical archives have safeguarded these parchments, allowing modern scholars to unravel the order's beginnings through close examination of its early texts. The establishment of the Teutonic Order was a deliberate act to consolidate military power under the Catholic Church. The Order's founding documents, now housed in secure archives, offer tangible evidence of its origins. Historians pore over these ancient parchments, deciphering the faded Latin text with care. The meticulous nature of medieval record-keeping allows for an accurate reconstruction of the Order's beginnings. The Teutonic Order was established during the Third Crusade, when Frederick I Barbarossa set up a field hospital near Acre to care for German crusaders. This hospital was not merely a place of rest and healing, it marked the beginning of an order that would take up arms against the Baltic peoples starting in the 13th century. The hospital's tents and tables, lit by flickering oil lamps, became the nucleus from which the Teutonic Knights emerged. Under the command of Barbarossa, this group of knights was formed to provide aid and protection to crusaders on their journey. The order's transformation from a medical service to a military one is documented in ancient chronicles, preserved in dusty archives. These writings describe the transition, how the knights took up arms not just for defense, but also for expansion into Baltic territories. The field hospital near Acre served as a reminder of their origins, a place where their journey began and their purpose evolved. Over time, the focus on spiritual healing shifted towards territorial conquest. This change was gradual, with the knights assuming more responsibilities beyond their initial medical roles. The decision to expand into foreign lands was driven by a desire for power and influence in the region. The transformation of the Teutonic Order is revealed through surviving letters and documents from the period. The transformation hints at a growing ambition within the Order as they saw opportunities beyond their initial humanitarian mission. This shift in focus was likely influenced by the political climate of the time, where expansion and control were valued. The surviving documents offer insights into this change, chronicling how the knights began to view themselves as conquerors rather than caregivers. Around the year 800 AD, a significant figure began to emerge in medieval society, known as the knight. This period marked the rise of the medieval knight as we recognize it today. Knights were initially warriors on horseback, serving their lords and kingdoms with loyalty and bravery. Over time, these horsemen developed into highly trained and skilled fighters, distinguished by their armor and weapons. Historical accounts and artifacts from this era reveal the evolution of the medieval knight's role in society. As feudal systems solidified, so did the importance of knights in maintaining order and protecting territories. Their prominence grew as they became integral to the defensive strategies and military campaigns of the time. This transformation is evident through the preserved remnants of their equipment and the written records of their deeds. The medieval knights' rise to prominence is further underscored by the detailed depictions of them in art and literature. These visual and written records provide tangible evidence of their evolving role and significance within society. Through meticulous studies of historical texts, scholars have gained insights into the training, tactics, and code of conduct that defined these warriors. The remnants of their armor and weapons, displayed in museums today, serve as silent witnesses to their development over time. From these relics, we understand how their armor evolved to better protect against evolving weaponry. The artifacts showcase the craftsmanship that went into each piece, reflecting the value placed on a knight's life and skill. Manuals and treatises from this time provide detailed accounts of their martial training, revealing the rigorous processes they underwent. These sources also highlight the code of chivalry that guided their actions, emphasizing honor and respect in combat. William Marshal served 5 English kings, from Henry II to his grandson Henry III. A man of enduring loyalty, he transitioned through the reigns of each monarch, adapting to the changing times and demands. The Battle of Lincoln in 1217 was his final stand, where at the age of 70, he demonstrated unwavering commitment to the crown. His long tenure in service is documented by historical records that span decades, detailing his journey from a young knight to a seasoned advisor. Through generations of rulers, Marshal's wisdom and experience were steadfast, guiding each king through turbulent times. The chronicles recall his presence at crucial moments, shaping the history of England with quiet resolve. His enduring service is a reflection of the stability he brought to the court, bridging the gaps between different eras. As time passed, Marshal's name became synonymous with longevity and dedication in royal service. His loyalty transcended personal interests, forging a bond with the monarchy that outlasted the lifespans of those he served. His actions reflected an unyielding devotion to duty rather than pursuit of personal gain. The meticulous record-keeping of the era allowed historians to trace his journey through time. Each transition between reigns was marked by continuity, as he passed on knowledge and experience to the next generation of courtiers. His steadfast commitment ensured the smooth transfer of power, maintaining stability through each change in leadership. This continuity was achieved by meticulously preserving historical knowledge and passing it down to those who followed him. His actions were documented diligently, ensuring his contributions would be remembered for generations to come. These records have provided insight into a life dedicated to service, revealing the significance of his role in shaping the history of England. Greek and Roman armies used cavalry units similar to medieval knights. These ancient military forces employed tactics on horseback that would later be echoed in the Middle Ages, showcasing a continuity of strategy over centuries. The cavalry units of Greece and Rome predated their medieval counterparts, yet they utilized comparable methods in combat and training. The use of mounted soldiers allowed for swift maneuvers and powerful charges on enemy lines, a tactic that medieval knights would also adopt. Historical texts and artifacts from both eras illustrate these similarities, providing insight into the evolution of military tactics over time. The surfaces of ancient scrolls and modern parchments bear witness to this shared heritage in warfare, bridging distant periods with common practices. Ancient cavalry units, much like medieval knights, relied on their horses for swift mobility and powerful impacts. The historical records from both periods reveal similarities in training methods, such as the use of lances and shields while mounted. The strategic importance of a swift charge was understood through practical experience and passed down through generations of soldiers. Observations of these practices have enabled historians to draw parallels between the ancient and medieval eras. The ancient Greeks and Romans trained their cavalry in ways that emphasized control over their horses, a skill also valued by medieval knights. The effectiveness of mounted warfare was demonstrated through repeated victories in battle, leading to its enduring use throughout history. Observing these engagements allowed military strategists to refine their techniques, ensuring the continued relevance of cavalry tactics. The shared emphasis on swift movement and powerful impact has ensured the longevity of this military approach across different epochs. The Code of Chivalry, a set of rules that knights followed, dictated their loyalty to their lords and respect for the church. Knights were bound by this code to protect those who could not defend themselves, such as women and children. The code guided their actions in battles, ensuring they fought fairly and treated prisoners with dignity. It was a way of life that shaped how knights conducted themselves daily, from how they dressed to how they spoke. This code was passed down through generations, teaching new knights the importance of honor and duty. In times of war, the Code of Chivalry served as a moral compass, influencing strategic decisions on the battlefield. It was a system that emphasized personal integrity above all else, instilling in knights a sense of responsibility towards their community and faith. Knights were trained from youth in the principles of the code, learning to balance might with mercy. The code was not merely a guidebook, it was an ingrained habit, shaping every action and decision. Even in the heat of battle, knights would pause to ensure fair treatment of foes. This discipline created a culture of respect where enemies could become allies after conflict. The code also taught knights to care for their horses with tenderness, seeing them as partners rather than tools. Knights practiced swordplay not just to fight, but to control and master their strength. They studied old stories of chivalrous deeds, using them as blueprints for their own conduct. In quiet moments, they would reflect on the code's teachings, internalizing its wisdom. Knights were originally mounted warriors, serving feudal superiors in medieval Europe. They rode into battle on horses, their steel armor clanking softly with each stride. Feudal lords provided them with land and protection in return for loyalty and service. Medieval chronicles detail these relationships, listing names of knights and their lords. The horses beneath them carried knights across fields and through forests, their hooves kicking up dust on ancient paths. Castles loomed ahead, signaling a place to call home between battles. In the quiet evenings, knights sharpened their swords under candlelight, the metal reflecting dimly in the soft glow. Their skill with the sword was crucial for survival and victory in combat, honed through rigorous training. In return for their service, knights were granted parcels of land to cultivate, ensuring they had sustenance between battles. This symbiotic relationship formed the backbone of feudal societies, creating stability amidst chaos. The detailed records kept by scribes provided an invaluable window into this world, preserving the memory of these warriors for future generations. In quiet moments, knights would also practice their archery skills, another crucial aspect of medieval combat. The sound of bowstrings being drawn and arrows being loosed echoed through the courtyards. Letters exchanged between lords and knights documented promises made and duties owed, serving as legal records. By night, fires burned in the great halls, casting long shadows on walls adorned with family crests and coats of arms, symbolizing lineage and allegiance. Their swords, forged from finest steel, were symbols of their power and status. Each night under the moon, they would oil and clean their weapons, maintaining their readiness. The echoes of clashing steel filled the courtyard during training sessions, a sound that signaled strength and discipline. By daybreak, the knights would rise with the sun, ready to defend their lands anew. In the United Kingdom and some Commonwealth countries, knights hold the right to be addressed with the title Sir. This custom signifies a knight's elevated status within society. The title originates from the Old French word seigneur, which means lord or master. It reflects the medieval tradition where knighthood conferred not just military prowess, but also leadership and responsibility in feudal communities. The use of Sir persists today as a nod to historical lineage and honour. Over time, it has become ingrained in the cultural fabric of these nations. This right is often conferred during ceremonies that recognise exceptional service or achievement, continuing a centuries-old practice. Knights are respected figures, their title Sir carrying weight in social settings. It is a symbol of chivalric ideals and noble behaviour. This tradition is passed down through generations, taught by elders to maintain its significance. The title's enduring relevance underscores the continuity of historical customs. The title Sir is a mark of distinction, setting knights apart from commoners. It signifies not only their past bravery, but also their future duty to uphold honourable conduct. This tradition has been maintained through careful preservation of customs and rituals passed down over centuries. Knights are expected to live up to the ideals embodied by their title, which serves as a constant reminder of their responsibilities. The title, Sir, bestows a sense of dignity upon knights who are viewed with reverence by their peers. It is a tangible symbol of their unique position in society, distinguishable from others who do not hold this honour. This tradition has been steadfastly upheld through formal education and ceremonial events. The title serves as an ongoing reminder of the virtues knights must embody. In some languages, knights has alternative forms such as ridders in Dutch and ritters in German. This linguistic variation reflects the spread of the concept across different cultures over time. The word ridder has been found carved into ancient tombstones, indicating its long history within the Dutch language. The similarity between these terms suggests a shared origin or influence, possibly through trade or conquest. Scholars have studied these linguistic connections to better understand the migration patterns of people and ideas throughout Europe. The use of these words in historical documents and literature provides insight into how knights were perceived and valued within each society. The consistent use of these terms across languages signifies a deep cultural exchange. The evolution of words often parallels the movement of people, allowing ideas to travel with them. Historical linguistics has traced these paths by analysing etymologies and patterns in usage. Comparing such terms helps paint a picture of medieval Europe's interconnectedness. The shared origins of these terms illustrate the intermingling of languages and cultures. This linguistic overlap indicates a historical connection between societies that likely engaged in frequent interaction. By examining the evolution of words, scholars gain valuable insights into past civilizations and their exchanges. Studying these connections helps reconstruct the cultural landscape of medieval Europe. The persistence of similar words across languages hints at a mutual understanding among diverse groups. This continuity suggests a gradual assimilation of ideas rather than abrupt change. Detailed analysis of these terms has revealed subtle shifts in meaning over time, indicating evolving cultural attitudes. Through careful study of such linguistic echoes, historians can discern the nuanced exchanges that shaped medieval society. In the High Middle Ages, from 1000 to 1300 CE, knights carried heavy armour and a range of weapons, swords, lances and shields. Their armour was crafted with careful skill, each piece carefully fitted to protect them in battle. This era also saw the rise of chivalry, a code that guided their conduct, emphasising courage and loyalty. The weight of their gear required great strength and training. As time passed, the invention of gunpowder changed battlefields forever. By the late Middle Ages, the once formidable knights found their traditional methods less effective against new weapons. Historians study these changes through records and artifacts, piecing together the evolution of warfare over centuries. Their heavy armour, once a necessity, became a liability as battlefields evolved. Artifacts reveal incremental shifts in weapon design and use over time. The decline of knightly dominance was gradual, evident in the changing landscape of combat tactics. Scholars analyze surviving records to understand how soldiers adapted to these transformations. The armor's weight became a hindrance in faster-paced battles, making knights slower and less agile than before. This shift in combat style was observed by historians through careful examination of battlefield strategies and equipment found in ancient sites. The changes were also noted in contemporary accounts, where soldiers wrote about the difficulties they faced with their heavy gear. Over time, it became clear that the traditional methods of knightly combat had reached a point of diminishing returns, leading to a need for adaptation. The evolution from heavy armor to lighter, more agile equipment reflected a growing need for speed and maneuverability on the battlefield. This transition was driven by the changing nature of combat, which favored quick movements over sheer strength. Artifacts such as discarded breastplates and replaced helmets offered tangible evidence of this shift in military strategy. Knights wore heavy armour that weighed between 40–60 pounds, 18–27 kgs. This weight was distributed across the body, with the majority on the chest and shoulders. The heaviest part of the armour was often the breastplate, made of thick metal to protect vital organs. Such armour was crafted by skilled blacksmiths using techniques passed down through generations. It took considerable time to don this heavy gear, as each piece needed careful adjustment. The weight of the armour impacted a knight's mobility, making swift movements more challenging. The armour's design varied depending on the region and time period, with some designs offering more flexibility than others. Despite the weight, knights trained extensively to move effectively in their armour. This training was crucial for combat readiness, ensuring they could fight efficiently while wearing such heavy equipment. The weight also affected a knight's balance, making it challenging to stay upright on uneven terrain. The armor's bulk necessitated specific techniques for mounting and dismounting horses. Over time, knights developed strategies to compensate for the heavy load, such as leveraging momentum during combat maneuvers. The constant training in full gear familiarized them with their body's limitations while wearing the armor. The practice of wearing such heavy armor also required physical conditioning, as muscles needed to be strong enough to support the additional weight. Regular exercises were implemented to maintain this strength and endurance over time. Every movement had to be deliberate and controlled to prevent injury or exhaustion. The continuous use of armor led to specific body postures being developed for daily activities like sitting or standing. The primary weapon used by knights was the lance, which could be up to 12 feet long. This length allowed for significant reach and power in battle, especially during jousting tournaments. The lances were often made of ash, a hardwood that provided both strength and flexibility. In jousting competitions, the lances would be held at the ready, their lengths extending far out from the knight's grip. The jousting lance used by knights was typically around 11 feet long, though some could reach up to 12 feet. This length required skilled handling and a strong arm to wield effectively. The ashwood was carefully chosen for its ability to withstand the impact of charging at full speed. The length of the lances made them formidable weapons, capable of unseating opponents from their horses. The knight's grip on the lance was crucial, with the balance point typically located near the center to provide control during the charge. The lance's length also determined its weight and inertia, which affected how it moved through the air. This understanding of lance dynamics came from centuries of practical use in combat and tournament settings. This understanding of lance dynamics was refined through countless hours of practice and observation. The specific characteristics of each lance were learned by experience, as slight variations in length and balance could significantly alter performance. Mastery of the lance involved not just physical strength, but also a deep intuitive sense of its behavior in motion. Over time, this knowledge was passed down from one generation of knights to the next, ensuring that each new generation could wield the weapon effectively. The code of chivalry emphasized virtues such as courage, honor, and loyalty among knights. This code guided their actions, shaping a sense of duty and respect. The ideals were instilled through training, where young knights learned to wield swords with skill and grace. Honor was not just a word, it reflected in their conduct, from the tilting yard to the banquet hall. Courage meant facing battle without fear, while loyalty bound them to their lords and allies. These virtues were celebrated in tales and songs, echoing through castles and villages. Over time, they became an unspoken language among the knights, a badge of pride and honor. Young knights practiced these principles in mock battles, their actions scrutinized by experienced mentors. The code was reinforced during quiet moments, with tales of past glories and lessons learned from failures. Every deed, whether in combat or daily life, was a chance to uphold these virtues. Through repetition and reflection, the code of chivalry became second nature, guiding every decision. In peaceful evenings, knights gathered around fires, recounting stories that exemplified their code. The echoes of these tales carried through the halls, a subtle reminder of their pledge. Young squires watched and listened, absorbing lessons in humility and perseverance. Each dawn brought another opportunity to demonstrate chivalry, from mundane tasks to momentous battles. The knight's daily routine was a constant reinforcement of these values. Every task, from caring for their horses to mending their armor, became an act of discipline and diligence. Their mentors, with years of experience, offered gentle corrections and patient guidance. Through consistent practice, the code became an innate part of their character, shaping not just their actions, but also their thoughts and intentions. In chess, the knight is represented by a piece in the shape of a horse's head that moves 2 squares in one direction and then 1 square at an angle of 90 degrees. This piece, often sculpted with intricate detail, follows a path unique to its kind within the game board. The movements are not arbitrary, they mimic the actual steps of a horse, reflecting the historical roots of chess in warfare strategy. Each move covers a specific distance, measured by the grid of the chessboard. Over time, players have come to recognize this pattern, guiding their pieces with practiced precision across the smooth surface of the board. The knight's journey is a deliberate sequence, designed to be predictable and strategic. This predictability allows players to plan ahead, anticipating their opponent's moves. Over many games, the pattern of the knight becomes second nature to experienced players. The consistency in movement ensures that no advantage is gained from unpredictability. The knight's movement, an essential part of chess strategy, is a learned behavior that enhances players' ability to calculate future positions. The predictability of the knight's path allows for careful consideration of all possible moves before making a decision. This consistent pattern helps in visualizing potential threats and opportunities on the board. Mastering this movement over time develops a player's foresight and strategic thinking. The knight's movement is a clear demonstration of its tactical role, offering players a reliable method to control and defend specific areas on the chessboard. This consistent behavior is deeply ingrained in the game's rules, ensuring fairness and balance among opponents. Through repetition and observation, new players gradually absorb the knight's movement pattern, integrating it into their strategic toolkit. With time and practice, this learned consistency becomes a natural extension of a player's understanding of chess. And that is where we will leave knights for tonight. The facts will still be true tomorrow, and this video will still be here whenever you need it. Sleep well,